Alrighty, time to hit a Saudi shift to Salman. Take two. Couldn't finish it all in one podcast. That's okay. Meant to actually give a shout out. That first part of that podcast was originally requested by Alan Weissel. And this part dos, the Saudi shift to Salman, I'm giving a shout out to my good friend, former student and VT alumni who's now hanging out in Saudi Arabia. That'd be Sarah AJ, and she knows who I'm talking about. What's up, Sarah? Thanks for the insider insight into what's going on in Saudi Arabia right now since King Salman took over. Hey, and that's about where we left off. I chatted for 20 minutes about King Abdullah and all the impacts he had. Maybe I didn't stress this enough. King Abdullah and Saudi Arabia in general, huge United States ally. Huge! So pretty much all U.S. foreign policy objectives in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia has been there to support them from the word go, and they mostly still do, even though some friction has arisen between the Sauds, the royal House of Saud, and the current U.S. administration under Barack Obama about lots of different things, but particularly Iran. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's meet the new boss, same as the old boss, and we'll see how that relationship between Saudi Arabia and the U.S. may be changing. The new guy in command since January 23rd, when King Abdullah passed, is one King Salman. It's King Salman. Full name, Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud. Let's just go with King Salman. King Abdullah died when he was 90 or 91, but King Salman is a spry 76. He's a spring chicken, as it were, in the Saudi lineage. No, actually, there's plenty of younger people than that. And that's important, too, because the new, younger generation of Saudi leadership is going to have to be taking over soon. At a spry 76, King Salman is actually not in the greatest health either. King Abdullah was in touch-and-go, not great health for a decade. And here's the new leader who's 76. He's already had a stroke or two, and I think he has limited use of one arm. I mean, he looks okay, and of course they've got the best medical care money can buy because they have all the money in the world to buy it. So I'm not suggesting that he's getting ready to kick off any second, but already we need to be thinking about, well, who's going to be the next in command and how are they going to affect things. But let's talk about King Salman for just a little bit. 76, a spry 76, not in the greatest health. He has been in the, not the limelight, but he's been part of Saudi politics for 50 years, as most princes or crown princes or soon-to-be king crown princes are. And he spent most of his time not at the national level in the spotlight or on the international stage, but as the governor, I think? The governor of Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, he's the governor of the major city for 50 years. That's a good long run. He is known as a straight shooter, not corrupt, not on the take, not one of the slacker princes or sub-princes, of which there are hundreds in Saudi Arabia who don't really aspire to much besides having a good time and partying. Not this guy. He's a hard worker, well-educated, popular within the family. He's kind of seen as a dispute settler within the family. And I keep saying the family. Again, this is a monarchy. So you think about the kings and queens back in Europe, where there's this cousin and that cousin, and they're betrothed to these people, and they're coming in line to this fiefdom and dukedom, and you have the same stuff going on in Saudi Arabia. So he's seen as kind of a really astute family middleman who can manage relationships between parties. And he's seen on the national stage as a fairly stand-up guy, too. Again, he's now been in office for just, what, a few weeks. And right from the get-go, he said, everything's going to be fine, okay? Everything's going to be fine. I've already picked my successors. We're all in the same lineage. We all know what's going on. Everybody chill. There's not going to be any big changes on the horizon. And that's comforting to people. You know, democracies are great because we get to pick our leaders, but we never know what the hell is going to happen 4 years from now. There's going to be somebody else in charge. The Sauds, much like the Chinese, by the way, they strive for consistency above all other things. Everybody just chill out. Nothing big's around the corner. Old policies, or same policies. The old person's policies are the new person's policies. Nothing's going to change. Having said that, so he's a decent guy. Not going to make fun of him for that. We don't know a whole lot more about him because even though he's been in the limelight or in a government position for 50 years, it hasn't been at the top levels. So he hasn't interacted a lot internationally. He certainly is, and I'm trying to be nice here. I don't want to step on anybody's toes or make fun of people, especially the King of Saudi Arabia. But there's just no way, my assessment already is, there's just no way he's not as big a persona as King Abdullah was. I told you last podcast, King Abdullah was beloved. Beloved at home, by most, not all, but beloved at home, very popular, pretty popular abroad. People could deal with him, people liked him. There are certain people that are just personas. They're larger than life, they're beyond their own skin, and that's what King Abdullah was. He made a major impact, was a leader. I don't know so much about King Salman. He could prove me wrong and step up and do all kinds of crazy things. It doesn't appear that that's going to be the case. He's going to be a much more cards-to-the-chest conservative leader, going to keep the old policies and probably not going to come up with a whole lot of new policies in his tenure. His social stances or stances towards social issues are even less clear than that in terms of we referenced that Abdullah kind of tried to reform a little bit and opened up things a little bit and talked about maybe women could even drive. You can forget that. I've talked to now several Saudis who have told me, yeah, the instinct with everybody here at home is that they're not going to roll back any social reforms, but they're not going forward with any new ones. So you can forget about that. Things are going to remain the same, and perhaps, and this is words that a couple different Saudis gave me, perhaps we're going to either stand still or we might take a half step back when it comes to social issues. But it's not going to be radical either way. Just don't look for any big reforms like on women's rights or anything like that to happen. So the overall translation I want you to know about King Salman, more conservative, slightly more conservative, not as popular yet, and I don't think he ever will be, as King Abdullah. Not as confident yet, and probably won't be. He's not a big force. He's not a persona. So there's not going to be a whole lot of change on domestic policy, but perhaps there will be for foreign policy. And the kingdom in his tenure is either going to kind of stand still socially and economically, or it might take a half step back. Again, that's coming from some locals. So, having said that, what has he done so far in his whopping, what's it been, a week, 2 weeks in office? Here's some fun stuff that I just found out again from some locals. The first thing he said was he gotten into sworn in or whatever they do for kings, and he said, point one, nothing's going to change. Surprise, it's a conservative society. We're good, everything's good, relax, chill, nothing's going to change. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Two, and this is just in the last 48 hours, he ordered around $30 billion of spending within the country. So infusing $30 billion into the country, probably to do infrastructure works and upgrade stuff and give people more benefits, including $5.3 billion in subsidies for water, electricity, and housing, and even some arts. So I think everybody in Saudi Arabia is about to get a check for money. Dude! I mean, I kind of want to live there. So I'm just going to get a check because we have a new king and he wants to make sure everybody's chill with him. So he's just going to give away money to everybody in the whole country. Dig this, though. Government employees and retirees, all students, bank employees, everybody who has anything even remotely close to a government job, including those students that I told you about that get flown all over the world to get their education, are getting sorry, I love this. All of those people are getting 2 months' salary bonus in their next month's check. So whatever you get paid working for Aramco, the oil company, or at the bank, or if you're a student studying in the United States, whatever your check was last month, you're getting 3 times that this month coming up. Boom! That's awesome. So if you know any Saudi students studying abroad, next month's the time to hit them up for a loan. Be like, hey, where are you guys partying at? Come on, let's go out because I know you got some cash. So that was the second thing he did. And hold on, let me stop with number 2. Let me restate now. What has the new King Salman done? 1, said nothing's going to change, relax. 2, gave everybody in the country a bunch of money. Now, before I get to 3, let me stop and be like, why would you do 2? Stabilization. Build up some popularity. Infuse cash into the economy. Everybody's spending. Everybody's happy. Everything's good. Not a bad idea, is it? If you were a king, isn't that a good move? Isn't that what you do? So he's playing politically savvy to the domestic audience. Not a bad thing to do, and Saudi Arabia has the capital to do it because they make tons of money off oil. Now let's get to number 3. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry, back to number 2. Another reason you make the domestic audience really happy, so that you quash political dissent. Because the whole reason I thought to do this podcast is that even though the new king may be the same as the old king, anytime you have transitions of power, those are periods that are exploited by people who want change. And who might want change? Al-Qaeda, ISIS, terrorists, ultra-religious fundamental zealots who want Saudi Arabia to turn into a theocracy and want to get rid of the whole House of Saud, political enemies of the House of Saud. All of these folks, during an era of transition, will try to get in there and exploit that and say, yes, this is a good time. And King Abdullah was, again, popular, so you don't want to mess with a popular guy, but he loves him. But you don't know this new guy, so let's get in there and exploit that and try to shake up the kingdom. So how can you quash all that dissent? Give everybody money. I love it. It's the way the world really works. But Saudi Arabia is the only country I know of. Maybe not Bhutan. Where's that other one? Brunei. I think they do this in Brunei too. You're a member of this country. You're a citizen. You get money. Oh, can't we do that here at home? Anyway, that's why you do that. Number 2, give everybody money. Now, number 3 thing he's done, and this one is way under the radar. You got to come to Boyer to get the real facts about the real impacts. If you search this guy's name, you'll find stories on it, but you'll never see it in the regular newspapers because regular newspapers cater to people who only care about car crashes and shit like that. Here is I think, the most telling thing that this new King Salman has done. They have this Prince Mohammed bin Yaf. Let's just call him Prince Mohammed. Prince Mohammed has been the interior minister of Saudi Arabia, I don't know, for a decade. Doesn't matter to me. Prince Mohammed is a very hawkish fellow. Prince Mohammed is a very outspoken fellow. Prince Mohammed is a very powerful fellow. Prince Mohammed, the interior minister, was just elevated to the status of deputy crown prince last week. Now, what a boring story. You don't care about that. What is Boyer even raging about? Some prince, a prince I've never even heard of, is deputy what? Deputy crown prince now? Okay, let me clue you in on the details. A deputy crown prince means you're the second in line to the throne. So King Salman is the current king. I don't even know who the first crown prince is. So King Salman is the king. The crown prince will be the next person. If King Salman dies, the crown prince goes up. The deputy crown prince is the next after that. Okay, that seems too technical and worthless to most of you. I'm telling you it's not. Because I don't even know who the crown prince is, and it doesn't matter to me. This guy is the one to watch. Prince Mohammed is the deputy crown prince, and he's important because he's only 55 years old. What? Holy cow. He's barely out of puberty. He's 55 years old. He's the youngest, I believe, probably one of the youngest in this position of crown prince or deputy crown prince. And more importantly, he's of the next generation. So all these old guys, including King Abdullah, I'm not making fun of him because he's old. We're all getting old. But there's a bunch of old guys at the top of the pyramid of power in Saudi Arabia, and they've been going back and forth, exchanging seats. One king dies, the next king takes over. But they're all really old. This guy's the next generation down. The next generation always thinks slightly different because they've lived in different times. And this Prince Mohammed, who is likely to become king. Now, again, this could happen in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I don't know, but he is a very powerful, very big persona, just like Abdullah was. And while King Salman may not do a whole lot on the world stage, Prince Mohammed already has. He is a very hawkish fellow. He is hardcore anti-Muslim Brotherhood. Now, that's a whole other podcast, perhaps, but the Muslim Brotherhood is a Islamist political party that has chapters in pretty much all Islamic countries in the Middle East. And again, it's a political party, like the Republicans or the Democrats in the United States. The Muslim Brotherhood is in Egypt. In fact, they've been mostly quashed and jailed in Egypt. There's one in Jordan, I think, that's been outlawed. There's one in Syria that's been outlawed and killed. So this political party that favors infusing more Islam into the political system has been routinely quashed in all countries in the Middle East. But there's still a presence. And this Prince Mohammed, from the get-go of him being a political person in charge, in a high position in the Saudi government, has said, I think we should just outlaw them and kill them all. And he has given talks across the Middle East saying, us leaders, need to band together and destroy this political party. Very assertive. By the way, I'm not suggesting he's right, but I'm imparting this wisdom to you because I'm telling you, this guy's the second to the throne, and he is openly and outright anti-Muslim Brotherhood and ready to squash political dissent anywhere it rears its head, and he's encouraging other Arab leaders to do this as well. Now, again, I'm not even making fun of him. I think he's a powerful guy and is a smart guy, but that's just one thing. He also is, I think, fairly hawkish towards any enemies of the House of Saud or any potential or prospective enemies of Saudi Arabia itself. So whereas King Abdullah was pretty chill, he was pro-Saudi Arabia and built up the Saudi Arabian military big time. King Salman, in my opinion, is going to be kind of just hanging out and maintaining policy. But if this Prince Mohammed gets into power, he's going to start using some of that hard power to project Saudi's power further afield. And now let's finish up this podcast with that. What are the impacts? What do I think the prospective, possible impacts of this transition of power in Saudi Arabia going to entail? And again, we're projecting in the future. Don't hold me to this. I've been wrong in the past. I'll be wrong in the future.